It was a chilly October evening in 2014 in the quiet, picture-perfect town of Maple Ridge, nestled in the heart of Ohio. The sun had dipped behind the trees, painting the sky in soft orange hues, and families were settling into the comfort of their homes. For the Carter family, it was meant to be a simple date night, something rare for Tom and Lisa Carter, who were both juggling work, bills, and raising their energetic 6-year-old son, Noah. Lisa had called Emma Leigh, a 19-year-old college student and longtime neighbor, to babysit. Emma was loved in the community, kind, cheerful, with a gentle smile that made every parent feel at ease. She had watched Noah several times before, and the Carters trusted her completely. At 6:15 p.m., Emma arrived, wearing her usual flannel shirt and carrying a backpack full of coloring books and snacks. Lisa gave her a warm hug at the door, and Tom handed her some emergency cash, joking that Noah might try to bribe her with cookies to extend bedtime. Little did they know, this would be the last time they saw their son in that house. At 9:07 p.m., a call came through to 911 from the Carter residence. The voice on the line was shaking. "Please, I don't know what happened. I went to the porch to take a call. Just 5 minutes, I swear. When I came back, he was gone. The front door was open. Noah's gone. Please help me." Emergency services arrived within minutes. Emma stood outside, barefoot, hugging herself. Her eyes were swollen from crying, and her voice trembled as she answered the officer's questions. Noah's favorite stuffed bear was still on the couch. His little sneakers were by the door. Nothing was broken. No signs of forced entry. No sounds, no witnesses, no trace. It was as if the boy had vanished in a thin air. The search began that night. Flashlights scanned the woods. Police dogs picked up a trail that disappeared near the Carters' backyard fence. Volunteers poured in from every corner of town. Flyers with Noah's bright smile and missing front tooth were plastered on every lamppost. Lisa Carter was inconsolable. Tom didn't speak for days. But as the hours turned into days and days into weeks, hope began to fade. What had happened in that house? Was Emma telling the whole truth? And where was little Noah? What no one knew yet was that a silent witness had seen everything. A broken teddy bear tucked on a high shelf. A hidden camera inside, and it had recorded the unthinkable. In the days following Noah's disappearance, the town of Maple Ridge turned into a command center. The local school gym became a hub for volunteers. Churches organized prayer vigils. Candlelight walks were held every night. It seemed everyone was looking for Noah, and at the center of it all was Emma Leigh. Emma, the 19-year-old babysitter, was seen as just another victim of the tragedy. The community rallied around her. Friends described her as sweet, responsible, and heartbroken. She joined every search party, posted flyers, cried during interviews, and even stood next to Lisa Carter during press briefings, holding her hand. "I just want him to come home," she said in one interview, her voice breaking. "I feel like I lost a little brother." People believed her. Why wouldn't they? Emma had grown up in Maple Ridge. Her father was a respected high school teacher. Her mother was a nurse. She'd volunteered at the local daycare, helped with community bake sales, and even ran a blog about creative ways to entertain children without screens. She seemed perfect, but slowly, the cracks began to show. Investigators noticed her story shifted slightly in each interview. In her first statement, she said she took a phone call on the porch for 5 minutes. Later, she said it was 2 minutes. Then she said she was texting a friend in the hallway and heard the door creak open. When asked why she hadn't locked the door while Noah was inside, she gave a shaky smile and said, I didn't think I had to. It's Maple Ridge. Nothing ever happens here." Detectives also found it odd that Emma deleted several text messages from the night Noah went missing. When asked about it, she said it was just anxiety. She didn't want to read anything that reminded her of that night. But there was something else. The teddy bear. A week before Noah vanished, Lisa Carter had bought a new nanny cam online. It was hidden inside a stuffed bear, something she had planned to set up in the living room. Not because she didn't trust Emma, but because Noah had been acting nervous around strangers lately. The day before the date night, Lisa tried to test the camera, but it wouldn't turn on. Frustrated, she put the bear on a shelf and forgot about it. After Noah's disappearance, The bear had been collected as part of the general evidence sweep, but no one paid it much attention. Until a tech analyst at the state crime lab, double-checking the evidence for anything overlooked, noticed a faint blinking light when he moved the bear. It had recorded, and it had stored everything on a hidden SD card. The footage couldn't be recovered immediately. The camera was partially damaged. But once experts began restoring it, they uncovered a video filed time-stamped October 12, 2014, 8:53 p.m. That was just 14 minutes before Emma's 911 call. What the footage revealed would destroy everything the town thought they knew about Emma Leigh, and it would change the Carter family's life forever. As word of Noah Carter's disappearance spread beyond Maple Ridge, the small town found itself under a national spotlight. News vans lined the streets. Interviewers knocked on neighbors' doors. Social media campaigns were launched using the hashtag #FindNoah. But while the community clung to hope, detectives were slowly uncovering a darker story. Investigators dove into every possible lead. They reviewed hours of security footage from traffic cams, convenience stores, and neighborhood homes. A few grainy clips showed nothing more than late-night dog walkers and empty sidewalks. No sign of Noah. No sign of a kidnapper. The scent trail picked up by K-9 units had ended abruptly at the back fence of the Carter property. Beyond it lay a narrow alley, then a road. Whoever took Noah likely escaped by car. Inside the house, detectives combed every corner. Nothing looked out of place. No broken windows. No forced entry. Just a child's room frozen in time. A Spider-Man bedspread, scattered crayons, and an untouched dinner plate in the kitchen. But then came the break. The teddy bear. The forensic team recovered the nanny cam footage and began restoration. The camera had stopped recording shortly after 9 p.m., and the file was damaged. But before it shut down, it captured 4 minutes and 38 seconds of footage that changed everything. The timestamp read, October 12, 2014, 8:53 p.m. In the dimly lit video, Noah could be seen sitting on the carpet, playing with his action figures. In the background, Emma paced the room, phone to her ear. She wasn't panicked or rushed. Her voice was calm, deliberate. Words like "he's ready" and "no, I left it unlocked" could be faintly heard. Then, at exactly 8:56 p.m., a dark figure entered the frame from the front door. A man, tall, wearing a hood and gloves, stepped into the living room. Noah looked up and froze. The man walked over, picked him up, and without a word, carried him out. Emma didn't scream. She didn't resist. She just watched and followed. The door closed behind them. It wasn't a kidnapping. It was a handoff. Investigators were stunned. This wasn't just a tragic mistake. This was planned. Emma Leigh had lied. The girl who stood by Noah's mother at press conferences was involved in his disappearance. Police moved quickly. Emma was brought in for questioning again, this time with the footage ready. At first, she denied everything. But when shown the video, her face changed. Her hands shook. She asked for a lawyer. Within 48 hours, she was arrested and charged with obstruction of justice and conspiracy to commit child abduction. But the story was far from over. Emma wasn't working alone. Who was the man in the footage? Why would she betray a child she claimed to love? And what else had she been hiding? As detectives searched Emma's phone and laptop, they found something that chilled them to the bone. A hidden folder filled with encrypted chats, usernames that didn't match hers, and disturbing references to cargo, pickups, and payments. The investigation had just opened the door to something much bigger than anyone expected. The footage from the teddy bear cam had done more than just expose Emma Leigh's lie. It had cracked open a web of secrets, dark, calculated, and far more organized than anyone in Maple Ridge could have imagined. With Emma now in custody, detectives zeroed in on the masked man who entered the Carter home and left with Noah. The footage gave only a few seconds of clear visual, a partial profile, a limp in his walk, and a faint tattoo visible on his wrist as he lifted the child. It was enough. Using advanced image enhancement and the tattoo, an eagle wrapped in barbed wire, law enforcement identified the man as Cody Mathers, a 32-year-old with a rap sheet spanning 3 states. His past charges? human trafficking, unlawful restraint, and involvement in a suspected child exploitation ring, though he had avoided conviction more than once. Emma's connection to him was even more disturbing. In her encrypted chats, recovered from a hidden app on her phone disguised as a study planner, police uncovered months of back-and-forth messages with Cody under aliases like Swiftwing and Caregiver 13. Emma had been groomed, maybe even blackmailed, into becoming a recruiter. She wasn't the first, but this time, she had crossed a line that even her handlers hadn't expected, helping orchestrate the kidnapping of a child from a family that trusted her. Investigators discovered photos, plans, and what looked like a price negotiation. Noah's name was used once, coded as in his age, height, and a chilling line. He's quiet, won't put up a fight. The digital footprint Emma left behind unraveled a string of potential cases. Police traced communications to at least 2 other women in other towns, both connected to missing children under suspicious circumstances. One case had gone cold 5 years earlier. Another, only 4 months before Noah's disappearance, had eerie similarities. But this time there was hope. Because of the footage, they had Cody's identity. Because of Emma's phone, they had tracking data. And because of one mistake, Cody forgetting to disable his burner phone's GPS, they now had a ping. In a rural cabin 3 hours away, in the middle of a forgotten forest road near the state border, law enforcement launched a tactical raid at dawn. Inside, they found signs of children, sleeping mats, toys, even school books. And in the far back room, they found Noah, alive, scared, silent, but alive. He was huddled beneath a blanket, clutching the same stuffed bear the camera had once been hidden inside. His eyes were hollow, but when an officer knelt and said, "Noah, we're here to bring you home," he didn't speak. He just nodded and whispered, "I heard Mommy calling me in my dream." The cabin was part of a larger trafficking network, one that moved children across state lines using caregivers, online recruiters, and secret safe houses. Emma Leigh wasn't just a babysitter. She was the bait. But her camera, the one she never knew was working, became her undoing. Emma Leigh's arrest sent shockwaves through the nation. But what investigators discovered next would reveal that Noah's kidnapping wasn't an isolated crime. It was part of a terrifying pattern. After Emma's phone was decrypted, authorities uncovered links to a dark web trafficking ring codenamed Whisper House. The ring operated through encrypted forums, using code names, digital currencies, and hidden apps disguised as school planners and childcare schedules. The purpose? A chilling marketplace where vulnerable children were sold, moved, and erased. Emma wasn't the mastermind. She was a small cog in a much larger, methodical system. But she had names. Under intense interrogation and with mounting pressure, Emma finally agreed to cooperate, striking a plea deal in exchange for full disclosure. What she told investigators opened the floodgates. She named Cody Mathers as one of the regional retrievers, people responsible for picking up children and moving them to drop zones. Cody didn't work alone. He was part of a 3-man crew that rotated between rural towns, searching for easy targets. Kids with unstable families, children in foster care, or those left with sitters who had been recruited. And Maple Ridge wasn't the first. In fact, it was the 5th town hit in under 18 months. Detectives connected Emma's communications to 2 prior missing child cases. Case 1, Abigail Torres, age 5, disappeared in 2013 in New Hampshire while under the care of a live-in nanny. The nanny vanished a day later. Case 2, Braden Hill, age 4, from Iowa, gone during a church event where a volunteer watched over the kids. That volunteer was traced back to the same Whisper House forum under the alias Warm Nest 4. In both cases, the caregivers had no prior record, no signs of coercion, no motive, until now. Emma's confession included disturbing details. How she was recruited through what she thought was a child psychology group online, offered money to observe children and report their behavior. It began with journal entries, then photos, then full control of the child's schedule. Soon, she was being instructed when to unlock the door and when to call. She thought it was just surveillance. But that night, with Noah, she realized it was more. Cody Mathers was arrested in a warehouse in Detroit 4 days after the cabin raid. He attempted to flee with 2 fake passports and a stash of cash hidden in the tires of a stolen van. In his possession were files, hundreds of them, containing names, photos, and dossiers on children across the Midwest. In court, Emma broke down in tears when Noah entered the room to testify through recorded video. He was too young to understand the legal system, but his small voice, whispering, "She told me to be quiet and that it was a game," was enough to silence the courtroom. Emma was sentenced to 35 years without parole. Cody received 2 life sentences, plus 80 years for federal trafficking charges. But the investigation didn't stop there. Whisper House was still active. Dozens more caregivers were being watched. And somewhere, in hidden corners of the internet, other children were at risk. Still, the breakthrough from that one broken teddy bear camera gave the FBI and Homeland Security a roadmap, one that had eluded them for nearly a decade. And little Noah? He was safe, but his journey was far from over. Maple Ridge on a cold November morning, 35 days after he vanished. He didn't walk through the door with balloons or flashing cameras. There was no parade, no press, just 2 parents waiting at the steps of their home, arms wide open, hearts shattered and stitched back together in silence. He ran to them without a word, and in that moment, the noise of the world disappeared. But bringing a child home doesn't erase the scars. Noah didn't speak much in the weeks that followed. He had trouble sleeping. He flinched when the doorbell rang. Sometimes he sat by his window, clutching the teddy bear, silent, as if waiting for someone who never came. Therapists said it would take time, that healing from trauma at such a young age wasn't linear. Some wounds would fade. Others would simply change shape. Lisa and Tom Carter turned their pain into purpose. They created the Noah's Life Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to helping families install home security, offering free background check services for babysitters and nannies, and advocating for child protection laws. Their story sparked a national movement. Within 6 months, several states passed new legislation requiring stricter verification for caregivers, mandatory encryption audits for nanny cam footage, and a publicly funded missing child rapid response task force. Emma Leigh never spoke again publicly. Her courtroom apology was brief and emotionless, but many believe her silence was strategic, an effort to protect others in the ring who might still be at large. As for the Whisper House network, it was hit hard. Raids were conducted in 4 states. Servers were seized, and arrests were made. But federal agents admitted this was just one ring. The internet had created a dark underworld where predators wore masks of kindness, where the safest face could hide the deepest betrayal. And that's what made this case so haunting, because Emma wasn't a monster in the closet. She was the girl next door, the one everyone trusted, the one who smiled during bedtime stories and promised she'd keep the child safe. But behind the smile was a secret, one that nearly stole a boy's future. And yet, despite it all, Noah survived. He laughed again. He played again. And slowly, he began to live again. The town of Maple Ridge changed that year. Porch lights stayed on longer. Parents held their children tighter. And every teddy bear on a shelf seemed to hold a story of its own. Because sometimes the smallest eyes see the biggest truths. And in the silence of a stuffed toy, hidden on a shelf, justice finally found its voice.